The shocking news that Gypsy Rose Blanchard was separating from her husband Ryan Scott Anderson dropped over the 2024 Easter weekend. Today we are breaking down the top 10 Gypsy Rose Blanchard relationship red flags we shouldn't have ignored, even the ones that appeared in a dream. Gypsy Rose has admitted to testing her now ex-husband Ryan Scott Anderson during their relationship, testing his loyalty, romantic attractions, and generally how devoted he was to her. Some social media users have pointed out the immaturity of such actions, one writing, "I feel like playing games and testing loyalties is something a teenager does in some of their first relationships." Further explaining, "I think a lot of this will be things she needs to unlearn as time goes on. It's good she has a therapist to work through things with." It's not incorrect to say that Gypsy Rose hasn't had a lot of time to gain real-world experience when it comes to romantic partners. Not that she hasn't had any, but since her release, this seems to be the first time she is free to really do as she wants. So yeah, she has a lot to learn. We are gonna go as easy as possible on Gypsy Rose today. She did just get released from jail for a pretty traumatic thing that happened to her in her youth and is now going through a divorce, so I'm gonna try and be as gentle as I can. Another scarlet-colored flag would have to be Gypsy Rose communicating with an ex-fiance, Ken, for a few weeks before she was going to marry Ryan. This made Ryan uneasy about their relationship and put a strain on the couple. Eventually, it looks like they were able to work through it and went through with the ceremony. The couple was married in a jailhouse ceremony in July of 2022. No guests were present. Gypsy Rose did an interview with People right before she left prison. In the interview, she revealed that she and Ryan had plans to get married again, this time with a full ceremony dress, cake, and everything. About the jailhouse ceremony, Gypsy Rose explained, "Our prison wedding was just something to where we can make our vows to each other. It was something that meant something to us." Tying in the out of jail plan ceremony, saying, "And I think the party is kind of for everybody else and us, but mostly for everybody else." During an interview with then husband Ryan, Gypsy Rose was asked which TV show she would want to star in if she could. Gypsy Rose ultimately landed on the reality show Survivor. Her husband quickly disagreed with a short no. Gypsy Rose kind of agreed with him, saying, "I know I could never do it," sharing more details on why she had said the show in the first place, saying, "Survivor would be kind of cool. I've watched it ever since I was a kid." Ryan did not let up, telling Gypsy Rose, "Baby, you could never make it." Though Gypsy Rose again agreed with him, the interviewer appeared to be on her side, telling Ryan to have some faith in her. I think Gypsy Rose is a lot tougher than Ryan might think. Many fans agree and took to X to express their opinions on the interview. One user writing, "Not him putting her down like that." Another chiming in with their 2 cents on Ryan's behavior, saying, "Nah, that's toxic boyfriend stuff. He didn't look like he was joking, just putting her down in the middle of an interview." This next thing might be considered a red flag if it gets confirmed. It's possible that Gypsy Rose was dating multiple men at the same time while in prison. To be clear, Gypsy Rose wasn't the person that said this, it was Fancy Marcelli, a family friend. In August of 2021, Fancy revealed the shocking relationship status of Gypsy Rose while in prison, giving some details on who the men were. She said, "These are guys from the support groups, the Gypsy support groups. They attach themselves to Gypsy and a lot of them just want fame. One of the guys was 20 years older, they've already broken up. Some of the guys have even gone to prison to meet Gypsy." So it's currently unclear how many of these guys were actually Gypsy Rose's boyfriend or just someone with a big crush on her or wanted to say they were attached to her for fame. Some might consider it a red flag. Gypsy Rose would start relationships with people when she just has letters or phone calls, but I raise them. What is she supposed to do? Plus, this is also what a lot of long-distance couples do too. Plus, we don't actually know if a label was ever put on anything before she met someone in person. Ryan is Gypsy Rose's second fiance. Her first was a man named Ken. The pair first made contact through a pen pal program that Gypsy Rose's jail had. Most of what the public knows about Ken and Gypsy Rose's relationship is from Blanchard's perspective, as Ken has stayed out of the spotlight. Some might consider only hearing one side of a relationship story to be a red flag, but also, if Ken doesn't want to say anything, he shouldn't be forced. And if Gypsy wants to talk about it, and they haven't discussed privacy, also fair game. In a 2019 interview with E! News, Gypsy Rose said that the reason Ken even contacted her in the first place was because he watched the HBO documentary Mommy, Dead, and Dearest. The documentary was about, you guessed it, the life of Gypsy Rose Blanchard and the details of what she went through at the hands of her mother. Ken was apparently so moved by the story, he sent Gypsy a letter of support. Soon after, the pair began writing each other on a weekly basis. Gypsy told E! News that the two became fast friends, and shortly after the weekly letter writing, the pair began talking on the phone. Gypsy said, "We would spend hours on the phone. I talked to him like I had known him my whole life, and vice versa. It was a strong bond from there." The pair did not meet in person until after they had begun really talking to each other. Ken visited Gypsy Rose in prison, and it was that first meeting that the pair shared a first kiss. Speaking on it, Gypsy Rose said, "He came and it was kind of a funny story, but within the first 30 minutes he leaned over and gave me the most wonderful kiss of my whole life." It kind of sounds like Ken didn't check if the action was something Gypsy Rose wanted, which some would consider a red flag. Apparently before this, the pair hadn't yet even talked about their feelings for each other, but luckily did feel the same. Gypsy Rose said, "I looked at him and I was like, I didn't even know you liked me like that." And he said, "Yeah, I have for a while." And I'm like, "I have for a while too." The romance didn't stop there. According to Gypsy Rose, she was the first girl Ken had ever said he loved. The proposal came in October 2018, but wasn't announced to the public until 2019. This wasn't a surprise for the pair. Apparently the couple had already been discussing the possibility of marriage while talking about the future. Gypsy Rose received 2 rings from Ken. One was confiscated by the prison, so he got another one. According to Gypsy Rose, the couple toyed with the idea of having a ceremony while she was still in prison, and if so, the possibility of doing 2 ceremonies, so in her words, she wasn't getting cheated out of wearing the dress, or my father getting to walk me down the aisle. Ken and Gypsy Rose were an on-again, off-again couple, which could be considered a red flag. Apparently, they had once been off for 1 day before getting back together. Gypsy Rose's stepmother actually confirmed the pair was back together once, saying, "They are back together, the engagement is on, but they are taking things slow and want to keep their relationship as private as possible. They are still aiming for a 2020 wedding, but things can change." Ending an announcement about a wedding with "things can change" is not exactly a good sign, but it seems the families get along. Ken had started writing Gypsy Rose after watching the documentary, and it seems that same doc is what gained the support of the rest of his family. Unfortunately, the pair was permanently off soon, and Gypsy Rose went on to marry Ryan. Speaking on her relationship with Ken in Gypsy Rose's Lifetime docuseries, she got into some personal details about the relationship for her. She said, "Every time I get close to someone, they leave me," later saying, "He left me and it broke my heart." And it seems the heartbreak was still affecting Blanchard just before she married husband Ryan Scott Anderson. As stated before, Blanchard and Ken were apparently in contact for weeks before her wedding. This next red flag Gypsy Rose revealed is literally a dream red flag. In the Lifetime docuseries, there were some major reveals regarding Gypsy Rose's lingering romantic feelings towards Ken and an interesting dream she had. She said she had dreamt that she left Ken for Ryan. Oops, other way around. She said that she had dreamt that she had left Ryan for Ken. That's not a great look for the pair. Ryan did find out about the dream. Ahead of the jailhouse marriage ceremony, Ryan and Gypsy Rose were on a call together, and while on the phone, they had a pretty major disagreement. It was about the dream and what happened in it, but it also covered things like Gypsy Rose's past relationship with Ken in general and her lingering feelings for her former fiance. Towards the beginning of the video, we talked about the red flag from the entire talking to Ken thing before the wedding thing. What makes everything worse was that Gypsy Rose apparently lied about it. It seems she had told Ryan that her and Ken hadn't had contact with each other in months, so the big reveal that that was not only a lie, but also that the two had been contacting each other so close to the wedding was a big hit. According to People, the news caused major strife for the couple in their relationship. Of course, they got through the rough patch and did get married, as stated before. This last thing is up to you to decide if you would consider this a red flag or simply a cute story. Apparently, the only reason Ryan Scott Anderson even wrote a letter to Gypsy Rose Blanchard in the first place was because of a coworker pact. Ryan was working in a hospital in 2020, the same year he sent that first letter, and also right around the time the show Tiger King took off. Apparently, his patient demands went way down and he suddenly had a lot of free time, and his coworkers had lots of free time too. One coworker who was a fan of everything Tiger King had told Ryan that she was going to write a letter to Joe Exotic. Making a pact with her, Ryan said if she were to write to Joe Exotic, he would write to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Are you team red flag, he never wanted to write her in the first place and it all was a joke from the start? Or are you team it's a cute story about how someone can find love even in the most unlikely of places? I'm leaning towards the second option, but I'm also a big rom-com lover, so maybe that's my rose-colored glasses talking. The rest is history between the pair. The letter was sent in 2020, the marriage certificate was obtained June 27, 2022. Now the couple might unfortunately be getting a divorce, but I think they had a sweet start. Truly, I wish Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Ryan Scott Anderson well in the upcoming weeks and months, and hope everything goes smoothly for them. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and listening along. Have a great rest of your day. See you later. Bye!